I guess the TV needs to be turned on again because it's not finding it.
It was on just now.
It was on a minute ago. So the available, it's just going round. Wonder why.
Should turn it off and turn it on again?
Yeah, maybe that's what needs to be done. This happened last time also.
Yeah, it's broken.
I don't think I ever turned it on, but how would it? So you should see it now.
Ah, yes.
Oh, to turn on, yeah.
Okay. Om Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Veda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha Rukarastvandakaro Vai Rukarastvanivartakaha Andakara Nirodhitvat Gururitya Vidhiyate Sadashiva Samarambha Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Let's chant verse number 8. Soyam Atma Adhyaksharam
Soyam Atma Adhyaksharam
Omkarodhi Matram
Omkaroti Matram
Pada Matra
Pada Matra
Matrascha Pada
Matrascha Pada
Matra Akara Ukaro Makara Iti
Matra Akaro
Akaro Matra. So what we saw last week really is a very important important concept that Swami Maheshananji really explained very well. I must say I learned a lot from just reviewing the whole thing and so on. And it is very similar to what Swami Dayanandji has been pointing out to us, which is that I'll connect it all together for a minute before we go to verse number 8. So Swami Dayanandji used to say that in terms of making progress in our life to understand what is going on, because that's really what it's all about. We have to come up to the same level as the Shastra, and then we are home free. But until then, whatever obstacles there are in our lives prevent us from really coming up to that speed. That's what it is. So in terms of that, Swami Dayananda used to say that if you really analyze your conduct in life, how you approach problems, how you approach life and so on, it can be sort of oversimplified into, not oversimplified, but segmented into 3 parts. So one is reactive. The second one is deliberative. And the third one is spontaneous. This is what he's been saying that for a number of years. So I think we should just look into that. What does it mean? So what happens is that when we are faced with some problems, some situations, our first reaction is to do something very natural, which is to react to it in some fashion. You know, this is not good. Why did this happen to me? This person is not right. Whatever, that kind of a thing. And the interesting thing is that when we react that way, then our follow-on actions are consistent with our reaction. So we maintain our reaction, not only, you know, supposing we were to react to something and then we completely forget about it. That would be okay. In fact, that's what children do. Really observe the very young children. They will cry and get mad or whatever it is, and the next moment their tears are gone and they laugh, and they don't have any, there's no leftover from there. Human beings, adults are different. First of all, we react to it, which we need to learn not to, that's a separate thing altogether, but having reacted to it, then we reinforce it. You see, as though I am right in reacting. This should not have been done. So it is not just reacting and forgetting about it like children do, but we make it worse by actually maintaining the reaction in reinforcing. It's an ego thing, really. I am right, you know, and people are doing this to me and so on and so forth, and this is not right. So now you have the samskaras that are strengthened. This is the issue, okay? So one of the things is that, so in the sense of the pointing out by Swami Maheshanandji, and this is where, I mean, it all clicked for me in terms of our going to the temples and doing puja to an inert murti of something. And so we'll connect it. Let's spend some time on this so we understand in the preparation for verse number 8. So what we do is, and of course normally if you look at it, don't mind my jumping around between Swami Maheshanandji's and Swami Dayanandji's exposition, they're the same. So if you look at a person who is not a Vedantin going to a temple, the normal essence of going to a temple for a normal person is that, please give me this. Please make my life better. Make sure if you have some specific things coming up, if your son is trying to go to a college, you say, please make him, you know, need your blessings, whatever, or somebody is sick. It's just normal and it's nothing bad about it too. This is good. It's all be done. But so even in that, even for a non-Vedantin going to the temple and asking for some results from it, consider what happens. What happens is that you are taking a stone murti, a stone altar, and you impose upon it the strength of the underlying devata, isn't it? This is what normal problems we have. The Muslims really accuse us that, what kind of a religion do you have? You are praying to a stone. And this is what I was saying, that the Arya Samaj, our older Swami Dayanand Saraswati, he must have been tired about the constant struggle between Hindus and Muslims and so on. And people didn't understand. It's not as though he didn't understand, but he's a social reformer. So he said, you know what? All right, I understand that. The Muslims, they all say that Allah is formless, which is true, what they say. So therefore, we should not do any puja to a formful thing. This is what the Muslims believe in. And so Hindus could not really withstand this criticism. And so Swami Dayanand Ji changed the Hinduism itself and said, okay, fine, we are not going to do any Murti Puja. So we are just going to do yajnas and chant mantras, and so this is what was done in our house. We had perhaps you had some picture of Rama and Krishna and so on the walls, but in terms of having Dakshinamurti or a Ganesha or something, nothing was done when we grew up. And so it was as a result of this situation. So going back to the puja for in a temple, even if you are just a normal person and you don't have the Vedantic thinking, the fact that you are ascribing a power of the underlying devata towards a vigraha is an amazing thing. Really, just think about it. So here's what it is. So what Swami Maheswaranji very clearly pointed out, this is a so beautiful thing, is that this aropa means a deliberate attempt. Actually, aropa can be one of two types. Aropa can be one which is natural. And so there, the aropa is you are doing an imposition of asatyam, one which is not true, on satyam. Okay, so this is one type of. So now going back to Swami Dayanandji's, when he was saying when you react to a situation, what you're doing is doing aropa of asatyam on satyam. You see that? How? Because supposing somebody pointed out some, and this is what happens, we don't like criticism of any kind. No criticism. People should just, whatever I do, people should just accept it. But the world is what it is. People criticize you because they feel that they need to criticize you. But you don't accept it. You say, oh, that person is, this is wrong. Maybe after thinking and discussion and so on, you say, well, you know what, you were right. And so our reaction, our actions on taking the criticism, just as an example, and not only taking the action on the criticism, but even maintaining it, as I said earlier. So this is an aropa of asatyam on satyam. The truth is that you deserve the criticism. Let's assume that for a minute, that you deserve the criticism. And but then you impose some kind of a asatyam on top of that. This is one kind of aropa. Okay? Now, what Swami Maheswaranji said, and which is very consistent with the second step of Swami Dayanandji. Swami Dayanandji also said that the first one is reaction, the second one is deliberation. Deliberate. And here Swami Viditatmananda had also pointed out something very beautiful. It is called Viparita Bhavana. And I'll connect it all together for a minute. Let me just spend a minute on the Viparita Bhavana, very similar to that. And so, for example, supposing you have an idea about a person that you don't like, And we all have our favorite people and other people that we don't like. Okay, so now what happens is that when the person that you don't like does something, then your ideas about that person come up. They become manifest in your mind. Then you reinforce it. That person, I tell you, is just a bad person. Well, the fact of the matter is there may be some bad actions, but there is no such thing as a bad person. But in our aropa, we look upon that person as a bad person. I'm just exaggerating it. So you look upon that as not a good person. So this is the aropa that we do. So Swami Viditatmananda said that really the Shastra is pointing out that the way to get around it, because what do? Every time you meet that person, your reaction comes up. Very natural. Because you've already strengthened in your mind, you have divided that between good people and bad people. And so the way to counteract that is Viparita Bhavana, where you deliberately think of some good qualities in that person. You tell your person, so this is the mastery of the mind, where you are aware of the fact that my mind is now reacting. You are aware of that fact. Instead of just doing it, you just take a step back and say, this is how my mind is reacting. This is not right. It may not be right. You can give yourself some doubt. At least give a doubt. You don't admit complete wrongness. But say, but perhaps I need to look at a broader sense of that person. Bring in the Viparita Bhavana. Viparita Bhavana means just the opposite quality. And impose that on the person. So this goes back to the step number 2 of Swami Dayanandji, which is the first one is reaction. The second one is deliberate action. Okay? Now, going back to Swami Maheshananji's enunciation of this whole thing, where he said this aropa is one of 2 types. Okay, beautiful. So the first type is where you are reacting by doing an aropa on satyam, asatyam on satyam, something which is not true. The person is not bad, but you think that it's a bad person, which is doing an aropa. And here, Swami Maheshananji had really taken this to the very useful limit. And so, in fact, this mamatvam and ahankara, mamatvam means mine, and me, ahankara means me, both are an aropa of asatyam on satyam. And we saw an example of that last week, that if a traveler is on the train and says, this is my seat, and the conductor says, yes sir, this is your seat. And then at the end of the journey, you take the seat out with you. So similarly is the case, where Ishvara has given you certain responsibilities of raising children and so on and so forth, and you feel this is my child. All the problems really come about. In fact, the Shastra says this. Shastra says if you analyze the 2 components of your desire, kamana, in fact, very interestingly enough, later on we will study this somewhere, I don't know when, the distinction between kamana and ichcha. So in Sanskritam, these 2 are separated. So I'll just briefly describe it. And I'm just giving you so many different commentaries of it. Hopefully we will come back together. So kamana and ichcha, in short, can be segmented as follows. Ichcha is Ishvara Shrishti. It is given by God. So, for example, the fact that if as soon as the child is born, it starts crying that I need something, I am hungry, I need my mother's milk, or something, do something. This is not, the child has the, you cannot say that the child is a stupid idiot, why is he doing this? This is Ishvara Srishti. He has to do this. That means, and same thing is true when you're thirsty to ask for water, is Ishvara Srishti. So there is an ichcha. So when you look for food or drinks to quench your hunger or thirst, this is Ishvara Srishti. This is called ichcha. You cannot say, why do you desire water? This is so stupid. You should just stay hungry or thirsty. No. Whatever is Ishvara Srishti, you have to fulfill it. Kamana is Jiva Srishti. Jiva Srishti. You don't have to do this. You don't have to do it. You'll be okay without it. But you decide, no, I think I want to do this. So going back to it, if you dissect kamana, kamana has two components to it. And so one component is that it arises in you. And it actually, I would add my comments to it. One component is inability to distinguish whether it's an ichcha or a kamana. See, so if you're hungry, you eat. So you say, this is wonderful, I'm happy. This is the problem these days. We don't eat when we are hungry. This is the way it should be. Because we're munching all the time. We're never really hungry. Never hungry. And so we just say, 12 o'clock, time to have lunch. So anyway, the first component, I think, of kamana, we're now analyzing kamana. First component of kamana is that ichcha and kamana are taken to be one and the same. I cannot make a distinction. It's Ishvara Srishti or my Srishti, I don't care. I want something, I want something. This is number one. If you were to, on the other hand, so an answer to that would be that if you were to analyze the difference between ichcha and kamana, Ishvara Srishti and Jiva Srishti, then you should go headlong into fulfilling the Ishvara Srishti. If you're hungry, you better eat. But you should think about whether kamana, which is your Srishti, is necessary or not. And you should do it once in a while or whatever, but not necessarily. This is the first component of kamana. We are analyzing the two components of kamana. The second component of kamana is mamata, mine. Mine. You connect it with yourself. So we were talking about where this thought came about was the imposing of something on satyam, imposing asatyam on satyam. Imposition of mamata is the crux of it. means mamata means mine. So if we have thousands of children who are not well, who are hungry, and it's good. Ishvara has given us so beautiful things. We are not aware of it. You cannot live if you are completely aware of all the problems in the world. So most of the time we are not aware of it. But even if you are aware of it, if the child is not yours, you don't have the kamana. So that is the second component. Second component is that of mamata. This is my child. So look at this. This is very interesting. But regardless of what it is, this is the first type of aropa, which is reaction. We're just taking it based on whatever you think, and then you impose your asatyam on that. And so this is the one type of aropa. Okay. And then the question is, how does it? So why should I bother about it? Isn't it natural that I react against the illnesses of my children, and so on? So what do you want me to do? What's the remedy? Why are you telling me all this? Well, what we should do is to see that my job should be that of a trustee rather than an ownership. So mamata means mine. Mine. Here in some of the Shastra which says, please do not try to get too close to Lakshmi. Because please remember, she is wedded to Vishnu. It's like, if you see a beautiful person, either sex, I always used to say woman, but nowadays we have to say man also. If you see, let's say, a beautiful woman, by all means admire her, and and so on. But don't feel that I wish she could walk away with me. First of all, your wife will kill you, number one. And separately, her husband will kill you. All kinds of problems will occur. And so really speaking, when you say this child is mine, you are violating the Vishnu's law. Everyone belongs, he is the owner. Ishvara as Vishnu is the owner of everything. Your child also belongs to him, to Ishvara. And Ishvara will take care of it. Really the ultimate owner of everything is Vishnu, Ishvara. So by all means take care of the child as a trustee. But ownership is a different thing altogether, not healthy. So when you said, what should I do? Have a feeling that, see, this is again the distinction between Ishvara Shrishti and Jiva Shrishti. And so it doesn't mean, Ishvara Shrishti is that the child was born to you. You really should take care of them. No doubt about it. But then to extend it to worrying about it all the time as though this is mine. Other people also suffer, you don't worry about them. But you only suffer because of it. If the suffering is the problem. You see, the result is already given to you. The result of your defective aropa is given to you right away. Please understand this. We should understand this. And this aropa means that it is really Vishnu's child, but I think it is my child. Therefore you suffer. And so what it is said is that, and so going back to the same old, this is a beautiful principle to see, that this aropa can be reversed. It can be reversed. We saw that. I won't open it, I'll think a little bit later on. It can be reversed. How can it be reversed? What do you mean by that? So supposing you have mamata, which is a reaction, really speaking is a reaction. Reaction meaning that you don't think about it. You think this is my child, I don't care about anybody else. I don't want anything to happen to my child. Okay? This is what I want. This is a reaction. And the viparita bhavana for that is to bring in, this is Ishvara's child. I should take care of it as best as I can. So Ishvara Srishti doesn't mean that you neglect your child. It doesn't mean that. Ishvara Srishti is the child is born to it, please take special care. And let others take care of their children. So it's not as though you don't, but it is that frustration, that dukkha that comes if something should happen to your child. Because they have their own history, they have their own future. You are just meeting for about 50, 60 years. We're talking about millions of years, and out of 60. And as Swami Maheswaranji so beautifully pointed out, do you have any relationship with all the children that you had in your previous life? No. Where you are now here in Milpitas, and where they are, we have no idea. So anyway, so this is the deliberate aropa. You can say viparita bhavana, you can say deliberation in point number 2 from Swami Dayananda, or I think very nicely pointed out by Swami Maheswaranji that aropa can be reversed. So this is what we now to bring it back to where we are in Mandukya. So the first aropa is natural, reactive, which is asatyam on satyam. The second type of aropa is satyam on asatyam. See, this is very beautiful. What a lovely concept. And so you can apply it to this example that we took about your child. This is a practical thing. Supposing you see a problem, your child is not doing well in school, or he or she is sick or something like this. You have dukkha. You have dukkha, which is a reaction. And all because of the fact that you have mamatvam, you have minus. Mamatvam means minus, I and mine, which is a component of kamana, as we saw earlier. So just putting it all together. So that reaction can be mitigated by the deliberate aropa, which can also be called upasana. A deliberate upasana on bringing the fact that, my goodness, this is Ishvara's child. Let Ishvara take care of it. I can do the best I can, but I am not solely responsible. And whatever happens, happens. I'm okay with it. This is the deliberate aropa, which is the satyam. On asatyam, asatyam means your reaction that no, my child nothing should happen to my child. This is the asatyam. Why shouldn't it happen to your child? Because there was some problem. But then to bring in the larger aspect of it is the aropa of the other kind. And so now we are only traversing the first 2 steps of Swami Dayanandaji's three-step process. One is reaction, recognizing that the way I look at things in my life have a very high tinge of reaction. This is the first recognition. This is also important. The second one is to do something about it, to be deliberate about it. This is the second step. Then comes the third step. The third step is to do the deliberation so often that it becomes natural to you. This is what is called, in Swami Dayanandaji's words, spontaneous. And in Swami Maheshanandaji's example, which we will see in more detail, is dridham, pakka, firm. That becomes your nature. And this is the example where I think I cited last week. It's just a great example by Swami Maheshanandaji. Great example. And he gave the example, remember that? I said that there is a function called Daridra Brahmana. And the function of the Daridra Brahmana is, and he uses some very interesting words, I won't use all of that here, but he looks at it, so the ways that you have people who are, this is one of the things. It's not just poor people should be collected for a puja, but people whose limbs are missing, who are dragging themselves on the floor, who are not complete human beings as you and I are. He was talking about all of those people, Langada, Lula, those kinds of people. So he was saying that the idea is that normally you don't look upon them as there's a problem in this whole thing, that this poor guy is suffering. You don't want to even look at them because you can't function really if you just keep on doing that. But on this day, you make a pratigya that I am inviting all of them and I'm going to give them food and I do puja to them. That you are nothing but the form of Ishvara. This is the example that he gave. And so there was this Swami who did this. And he must have invited Swami Maheshanandaji, so he went there. And he said after a while, this Swami got angry. That they are not behaving themselves, they are not forming a line, they're fighting with each other. And finally he had to just give me a stick. So he got a stick and he started beating them up and saying, be in line. Swamiji said, later on, he said, did you really have to get angry at those people? Are you not violating the spirit of... He said, Swamiji, what can I do? I'm doing my best. And those kinds of reactions are natural to me. What do you want me to do? I have to make sure that they are... Swamiji said, in Hindi, remember I told you, mujhe hasi aa gayi, means that internally I laughed that if you had done enough puja to the Vigraha, you would not have had this reaction. What does it really mean? This goes to the essence of Hinduism. This is a very important thing that people don't understand, really. Essence of Hinduism is that you do deliberate aropa. Deliberate again and again. You get used to doing aropa. You become so efficient at it that after a while, in fact, you see, I come across people who have such shraddha, and they should, on a vigraha, that they really fail to see it as a vigraha, they see Ishvara in it. It comes from a lot of practice. And Swami Maheshanandaji said, if you do that, then when you see a person who has problems and so on, and in our parlance you can say that we always have things in our life where you have people that you don't like, and so you feel that, like, let's just say that somebody who's not a Vedanta, not a Hindu, completely different type of person who criticizes you, what are you doing, and so on and so forth. So there you say, okay, I'll set him aside. He's a different part of a creation. I have no idea. I just want to do what I do. No. You have to see that this is also sent by Ishvara to criticize you, to be accepted, and so on and so forth. This kind of a feeling cannot come until you have done. So really speaking, puja and doing this kind of an aropa, satyam or asatyam. And Swami Vaishnaji, he went on and on in talking about Arya Samaj and how it started, and so on and so forth. And he could see, and I could really understand what he's talking about. He said, it is very difficult to see, like for example, you have Ganesha. So sometimes if you do not have a vigraha of Ganesha, you know what is done. So you take some turmeric and you make a little, cone of the turmeric, and then you sprinkle water. I don't even know all the things that needed to be done technically, but then that becomes your vigraha. And so you are so used to doing that. So the Arya Samajis used to say, this is silly. This is the thinking there. Some of the Muslimism. So Arya Samaj is partially Hindu and partially Muslim. I'm telling you, this is the way. I'm sorry to say that. This is for my own family. They're saying this is silly. Why are you doing this? And then how can a stone be Sarvagya, Sarvashaktiman, who's able to understand where you're coming from? This is silly. Okay, what are you going to do? So, this is the issue. Arya Samaj is not the true Hinduism in that sense. They just believe, and because they miss the fact that you have to do aropa and get used to it so that you begin to see satyam in asatyam. You see? And really speaking, in that sense, you can say that really, and in fact, I think, just going to the next step, which will do that, but just connect it, at least write it down. That really speaking, when you are looking at anyone, looking at a scene, you are doing the aropa of you as a sakshi on the scene. This is a very key thing to understand. This is where we should all be moving towards. How the isness, the presence, the truth, the satyam, and the consciousness, satyam jnanam, and anantam, and anandam, only belongs to the Sakshi, the Brahman, the Atma. But you are superimposing it on others. You are the one who's giving it its reality. This is the thing. I am the one who is giving the world the reality, and I don't understand it and suffer because of that. This is the ultimate aropa. Because I don't, so I'm superimposing. So it's not as though at first, you have to do an aropa of imposing, of seeing Ishvara, like we were talking about the Ridra Brahmana. So you first have to say, this is Ishvara, this is Ishvara's child. My child is Ishvara's child. All that thing we talked about earlier. So this is one kind of aropa. But the ultimate aropa, we should see, is that my own truth, I am giving it to others. Very much like in a dream. Very much. If we were to say, what are you talking about? What is my reality giving it to? Ishvara has given us some very beautiful example with the dream. Every night we do that. But we fail to see we fail to notice the reality of it, and then to apply it to my life. Because in a dream you are giving your reality to people who bother you. Just last night I had a dream. I don't know why I have dreams of trains, but I must have spent so much time on trains. It is so funny, I was just remembering it the other day. Do you know that I was 13 when my mother and father trusted me to go alone in a train for 36 hours? Imagine this. That was the India of that time. Even in India, even today, and here I'll be arrested, my parents will be arrested for doing that. So I have a lot of memories of train, and then of course the other thing is I was very asthmatic, and so the coal dust, I would suffer so much. I was choking, could not breathe. A lot of things. So I still have a lot of dreams about train. Last night I had a dream. Mostly my dreams now are about, this is interesting, some very minor problems. I don't have dreams of, at least I don't remember, maybe I do, but I have, last night I had a dream where my sister and her husband are going on the other platform and I'm coming on this platform, and now we are trying to do cell phone saying, where are you? And the cell phone is not working. And so I'm worried about, I hope that she can find me. And this is the real dream that I had last night. And who did this? If I ask my sister, she says, what are you talking about? I'm the one that imposed my truth to the dream. And I really was really sorry. I still remember that I was worried. I don't know how am I going to reach her, because she got in from the other side, I got in from this side, which is a strange thing. That doesn't happen. You have platform only on one side, but this is a strange dream. There are two sides of platform. As soon as the train reached there, you could go out from this way and I could go. I made up my own rules, and then I worried about it. This is exactly what happens in our life. Ultimately, this is what Mandukya is all about, that you are, as a Vaishvanara and Virat and Vishwa and so on, you have now just made that into such a reality, and then you suffer because of that. So that is the ultimate aropa. Really, just look upon that way. And the way to reach step number 3, which will all come in, this is all leading up to verse number 8. The way to reach the step number 3, which is the natural, is, take this example that I just talked about in terms of my reality to the others and so on, is, and this is all explained so beautifully in the later chapters of Panchadashi. I don't know when we will get to it. I hope when I am still alive, if we have a chance to teach it to you. It's so beautifully laid out that in the beginning, you do not understand it at all. Then you understand it, but it doesn't grasp you. Remember that A level, B level, C level. And then you start to grasp it. And the way to grasp it is to deliberately do the opposite aropa. Opposite aropa. Here Swami Dayananji had also a very beautiful example he was given, was learning to swim or to ride the bicycle. Is that we know it's possible. It is possible to swim. I have still not learned how to swim. But bicycle, let's take bicycle. In the beginning, you talk to a child and say, Joe, come on this bike. He says, no, I can't do this. Because you fall down on one side, you fall down on the other side. To maintain this, he says, no, this is, no, I can't do it. And the way to do that is to say, get on the saddle of the bike and start pedaling, and I will be holding you, and try to find the balance. And he says, no, I can't do that. This is, falling down. He really cannot do it. But there is a deliberate action, and after a while, it becomes effortless. Effortless. I see children. My wife's brother's grandchildren the other day. Devin, he was just a kid, and he learned how to do the bike, and what laughter there was in the whole family. Everybody was saying, wow, he did it, and Devin was so happy. He was just going round and round he could not get off the bike. So, just a day earlier he could not do it, and now he can. So similarly here also, what we need to do is to be aware the truth that this is riding the bike. I am the reality, and I'm imparting the reality to the world. And I do in the beginning I don't get it. What are you talking about? And then you say, no, this is exactly what it is. Go in that direction. And at first you fight it and fight it and fight it. But then it starts to get natural for you. And ultimately, this is the Mahatmas who can. Then while they are transacting and working or whatever it is, but they see the mithyatvam of the whole world, and their job is done. This is the entire promise of Vedanta, promise of the very truth about who we are. This is what we have to do. So in that sense, and so going back to just the tenets of the very core of the Hindu thinking and so on, is that going to a temple is a very important part of the growth of the being. And so the only thing that happens is, there you can either go to the temple for some minor results, which is okay. If you want to do that, that's perfectly okay. Or you can go to the temple. Going to the temple means even doing puja at home. It doesn't have to be physically going to the temple. That's what I'm just using. But to do the puja to a vigraha, you can use it for a much greater good to yourself. Greater good. And that is to get used to doing aropa of satyam on asatyam. See, this is the beauty of this teaching. And ultimately, the final thing you have to do, this is what Mandukya is doing. This is why it's such a difficult thing. This is the ultimate, it's the culmination. Ultimately, as we will do, is to understand that the aropa of satyam on the asatyam is the most important thing that you can do. Ultimately, you have to say that I am the one who is giving the reality to the world. This is in a way kind of like a PhD. At first, you have to do some very simple things. Look upon others as this, looking upon the child as Vishnu's child is relatively simple. Going to the temple and imposing a vision on a vigraha is relatively simple. But you cannot go to the PhD level until you begin used to doing this at the minor level. But the ultimate thing is freedom. And that can only come when you understand that I am the one who is really acting funny and suffering because of that. It's like the wave of the ocean who refuses to believe that he's the whole ocean. It's the whole entire ocean. It's just a vision that I am just this much and I don't like it. No wonder you don't like it, because you have a wrong vision. You are the very basis of the whole ocean. That message is very difficult to understand. I mean, in that example, we'll say, what? That's easy to see. Can't you show that you're the water? But this is exactly what our situation is in our life. Really, I am the very, it's the same Sakshi, there's only one Sakshi. So to understand the Paramatma and the Jivatma is the only thing that we can do. And that is the already done. But I refuse to believe it, refuse to go along with it. And the way to do that is these three levels, one at a time. This is where the essence of Hinduism, in terms of doing the puja to a vigraha, to an altar, have an altar, and start to impose as a practice, so that you can, and then it becomes a very good habit. Here now, to connect back, and we're almost too late to really do much with it. Perhaps we'll do a little bit. The altar here is Omkara. So, the altar can be one of two kinds. One is called Pratima. Yeah, I don't know if we have that here, but let's see. Yeah, I think we did that. Okay. So you look at this. So the altar is of one of two kinds. What is called pratima. Adhikama means a form of a formful vastu, like vigraha. And the second one is pratika. Second one. So the pratika is a word altar. So the Mandukya explains the nature of pratika and how the pratika can be an altar, and how to gain your freedom in life with the understanding of the pratika. Just like you do a puja onto a pratima, and how the puja to a pratima can be a very useful thing for you to provide an aropa towards the whole world, just like we saw earlier. The same thing can be done with a pratika. And in fact, ultimately, it will be much more powerful. Because, I just give you one aspect of it, because in pratima, your eyes are important. So your lower aspects of your instruments of knowledge are involved, like eyes, hands, and agarbatti and light, and so on. All these are important, but they're a lower form. A higher form is your mind. And there, it is more subtle. When I say higher, it means more subtle, closer to you. Your mind is the closest thing to the Atma. Manomaya koshaha. So if there is a puja done in the mind, it is more subtle, more pervasive, more powerful. And so we would learn to do puja to pratika. And the ultimate pratika, ultimate in the sense that it is the final pratika that everyone needs to finally do. It's kind of like, you pass through many doors, but to go to the inner sanctum sanctorum of a temple, there is a door that you have to pass through. You go through any of the other doors, and you have to ask through, have you passed through that door? And he says, no, I haven't gone through that door. Then you have not reached the ultimate of that temple. So that is the pratika of Omkara, is the ultimate doing puja to any pratika. And here I just wanted to this is something else. This will come in the Drikdrishya Viveka. I'm really warming up to it. I'm thinking I would do some thinking about the next classes for. I think this will continue, hopefully, this particular class. But I'm warming up to doing a Drikdrishya Viveka in great detail and a lot of depth. Anyway, that's a separate thing. But in the Drikdrishya Viveka, later on, I forget it, I think number 21, 22, somewhere there, I forget. There is these two descriptions, what is called Drishya Anuvriddha Samadhi and Shabda Anuvriddha Samadhi. And talking about exactly the same thing. That you can do a samadhi on a flame. You just look at a flame and you just focus on that and don't look at anything else. And pretty soon that brings in your mind, calms it down. This is called Drishya Anuvriddha Samadhi. And then the Shabda Anuvriddha Samadhi is you don't look at anything, but you just simply say, Om, Om Namah Shivaya, like that. And then there also if you know what Om is, which is what we are going to study, then you are not just, so because you can say, okay, Om, 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 what does that do to me? Okay, all that it does, it focuses my mind. Here that is not the case. It is the case where if you know what Om is, what the constituents of the word Om are, what the nature of Om is, then when you say Om, their entire scene behind Om comes to you. This is what we have to learn. This is what the whole is. Anyway, so that is, we are going to do this. So in the, I think we might have, I did talk about this. Again, just revision on that. So in the Shankara Bhashya leading up to verse number 8, it says that up to now, verse number 3 to 7, culminating in Bhashpragya. Why does it turn off? Same thing happened. Did I not start it? So sorry. Anyway, we'll have to get the audio from the video and put that in here. Yeah, it turned off. So up to now it says verse number 3 to 7 is what is called Abhitheya Pradhana. Abhitheya Pradhana means that, as you know, we talked about this, and I think we'll just end with this, that the name and the person are inseparable. They're the same thing. So whenever you say table, the table refers to the object table. So the object table is Abhideya, and the word table is Abhidhana, name. So the verse number 3 to 7 was Abhideya Pradhana. It talked about the object. And now with verse number 8 through 12, which is the last part of Mandukya, very short Upanishad, is Abhidhana Pradhana. And one can say that Abhidhana Pradhana means, why are we talking about, shouldn't we be talking about the object? What good is it talking about the name? Because the object is such that you don't easily see it. The object is yourself. And it'll be a lot easier to see means to understand the person if the name of the person is done in a manner that it explains the nature of the person. This is where Omkara is. Omkara right now is, Omkara means, the word Kara means the, T-H-E, the word. So when you say Omkara means the word Om. That's what Omkara means. So we also said that Makara means the word M. Ukara means the word U. That's what Kara means. So the Omkara, Om, has a lot of specificity, there's a lot of detail in it that fully explains what Brahman is, what Atma is. And so it is the essence of In fact, Swami Dayanand used to say that. He says, the word, if it is properly defined, is the appropriate name for it. Like, for example, supposing there's a person born, I don't think that has ever happened, but it's very possible. And the name for a mouse is called Chuha. So supposing your child is born and you call him Chuha Singh. It's very strange. Here's the thing: when your child is born and you are so happy, you call him baby. The word baby sticks for the rest of the life. A person may be 87 years of age. You say, hi baby. In fact, we have some in our family also. So the name is important. That baby should be done after about a week or so, then you give it some other name. And if you give it Chua Singh, then there's a big problem. Because every time you look at the word, you say Chuha, you look at a mouse. So that's completely inappropriate. Swami Dayanand used to say that what name should we give to Brahman, to the Atma? And the best name to give is Om. And how that is the case is what we will see. So with that, how many classes have we started with? We haven't even done verse number 8, which is what we are doing. But hopefully all this is
Sir, you said the spontaneous can be, is it second nature can be?
third. Second is deliberate.
No, I said second nature. I'm saying that
Oh.
spontaneous.
Become natural.
Becomes
Become
natural.
natural, yeah.
Becomes natural, yeah. Yeah, if you mean second nature means
Yes.
it should become the first nature, not second nature.
Can I ask a question?
Sure, sure.
So is the Viparita Bhavana and the Pratipaksha Bhavana the same?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Yeah. Pratipaksha Bhavana and Viparita Bhavana.
Both the same.
Yeah. Let me see. Yeah,
It sounded
pretty
like
much
it
the
was
same.
the same, but I was.
Yeah, I think it is the same. Om Swasti Prajabhyav Paripalayantam Nyayena Margena Mahi Mahishaha Om Brahmanebhya Shubhamastu Nityam Loka Samastha Sukhino Bhavantu Kale Varshatu Parjanyaha Prithvi Sasya Shalini Desho Yam Shobharahitaha Brahmana Santu Nirbhayaha Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayaha Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhag Bhavet Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityo Ma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om. Time for some questions. Yes, Kalpana.
So talking about the Ichha and the Kamana, I'm connecting it with what we're studying Mandukya Upanishad, the last Khanda. It says that to achieve Jivan Mukti or Vidhi Mukti, which is our final goal, we should have Tivra Mumukshutva, or intense desire for moksha.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't come as a natural Ichha or Ishwar Srushti, then we have to deliberately do something to become like a Tivra Mumukshutva, right? So is this the path we will be going?
Yeah, in that sense, I think that Tivra Mumukshutvam will come from understanding. Where So there I think that some problems and frustrations in life are important because otherwise you don't have any reasons to inquire and to understand. Or if you have such severe problems that you don't have time to understand. So it has to be both in that manner. But to turn, so this is the thing which is said is that, for example, supposing you have a physical problem that doesn't happen that often, then you can deal with a symptomatic relief. You just take something and it goes away and you say, okay, that's done with. But if it happens again, that happened to me. I had a blood clot about 5 years ago. And so I went to the doctor and they said, oh, that happened. Were you traveling? I said, no, I was not traveling. They said, okay, well, it doesn't matter. It's okay. Just take this thing and it became okay. A year later, I had another blood clot in a different leg. This time when I went back, the doctors all said, oh, why did you have a second one? So they sent me to a hematologist. And this guy said, you've got a problem. You have something in your blood now which you're prone to it. You have to take a blood thinner the rest of your life. I'm on a blood thinner the rest of the life. So in that sense, if you have a casual symptom, you can dismiss it by a casual problem. But if it becomes a disease, then you have to look into what to do. You have to understand the disease. And in my case, it became a very serious problem. I could die. You know this Serena Williams. So apparently in pregnant women this happens quite often. And so she almost died because the blood clot got into her chest, into the diaphragm, and that can be a huge problem. And she talked about it. So the same thing with my case. The doctor said, oh, you don't want to make that happen again, third time. And so it was a serious problem, and we went through it, and now I am on a medication and all kinds of things and so on. So Tivra Mumukshutvam will come from an understanding that I've got a disease. I've got a problem in my life. How long is it going to continue? And I don't know. I don't want to wait for next life. Who knows what will happen? Is there a solution to this? And that understanding of this is not a understanding the background of a symptom will generate mumukshutva. When you see that it's a disease, it's not a casual symptom, and then I need to really solve it. And then you look for a solution, because then, in the case, the medical science is very clear. Yes, this can be done. So then I have to take the necessary steps. So Tivra Mumukshutvam will come when many of the problems in our life is because I cannot recognize the symptoms. I'm oblivious to what's happening to me, and I just go hard with it. But if I can clearly define that this is a disease that can be treatable, then I take the appropriate actions to treat it. And so that's how it will come from it. Then what will happen is that you begin to view your life and become more sensitive to how problems are affecting you, how to get around it. So you become more knowledgeable about everything, and that increases your mumukshutvam even more. So that's the process we have to go through. Yeah, there's no easy thing on this. Yeah. So I have one request from all of you. Tomorrow the same room is going to be used for the Hindu Community Institute class, which is tomorrow. And their chair setup is different. So kindly, we did this after the Gita class last week, but today there is no Gita class, so we need to do this. So what we need to do is kindly arrange it so that the chairs are in